Hey player, what are you looking for from your experience with a tabletop role-playing game? When you go to a gaming session, what do you want? Well, I know what you want. You want to be immersed into what you're doing. Really focused on it. Like you would be focused on a movie. And if somebody said your name, you might not hear it. They might have to come up and poke you to get your attention. And why would they have to poke you? Because you're focused on the movie. You're thrilled by what's going on. And, you're excited. And you're imagining what can happen next. That is the experience that you want at the table in the game. And how you get there doesn't matter as long as you get there. There are some people in the hobby that get to their immersive experience through a heavy focus on roleplay. And any, out of roleplay talk, like out of character talk, they frown upon. And I swear, some of them seem to think it's the only way to the immersive experience is through a heavy focus on roleplay. It's not, but they seem to think it is. They don't even like talking about gaming rules as rules, talking about them as they are during a gaming session. They want to know, can we communicate this through our character or through the world? Not remind ourselves that we're playing a game. I really think if you're that sensitive that you can be pulled out of immersion because you focus on talking about a game rule as it is, the issue isn't really with the game or the hobby overall. At that point, there is an issue, and it's with you. I think you're too sensitive to the entire experience and what you're looking for. And you are not as open-minded as you once were. That happens, right? Once we know what we're looking for, a lot of people can become a little bit delusional because they really don't want anything else. They know this gets them to the immersive experience, and that's it. That's all they know. They'll go after it. And why is that? Because in reality, that's the drug. You want to know why people join the hobby and stay for decades? Well, here is one thing. They play the game, they go into their imagination, they have a wild experience. It's being immersed into the session. And that immersion that they're going through, that's the high, that's the drug. And once you've had it, you'll want to stay forever. I mean, it's the one thing that we're going to hunt forever. We're all going to go after that. And as you get older, you really don't want to experiment as much. If you know how to get there, well, that's the only path you want to take. You really don't want to try other things. Because really, you just want to have that experience and you don't have as much time to throw away as far as you're concerned. This is why people get like this. But reality is, there's a lot of different paths to immersion. And where are you really going to find immersion? No matter which way you go after it. It is through the imagination. Not just through a heavy focus on roleplay or anything like that. A heavy focus on roleplay can get you to your imagination and really, get your mind cycled in that area. But there's lots of ways to be using your imagination and be immersed into the game. What are the issues that these heavy role-playing focused people are worried about? Well, they know when you step out of character, people can stay there too long. And no matter what, that can pull you out of immersion, out of the immersive state, staying out of character too long, right? Talking about things that are unnecessary, right? That are, not game related. Things like this. Spending too much time focused on the gaming rule instead of just getting it out, dealing with it, and moving on. Or, taking too much time to roll dice. All these things can be cleaned up. All those activities can be done really quickly. You can be immersed and stay immersed. But if you don't really get on yourself and keep yourself in check, you can go into bad habits. And the people that like a heavy focus on roleplay, they've encountered the too much dice rolling. They've encountered all this stuff disturbing their experience, and they want to get rid of it. And when they go right into heavy roleplay, they have a great time. I'm not saying that they're not having a good time. I get why they like it. I get why they push it. I get why they promote it. But that is the way they're enjoying the game. But I would tell them, if I took them, to these other areas and showed them that there could be a lot more clean gameplay through them, and there's lots of ways to use the imagination and have an immersed experience, I could imagine, me changing some of their minds. But that's not what they're going to go through, and they're not going to get into it with me for me to even prove that to them. And they don't want to experiment. A lot of people don't want to throw their time away. So they know what gets them there. and they're going to stay on that path. But I would say if you hear these people promoting role play, a heavy focus on role play, as if it's the only way to the immersive experience that even they want, well, I would take it with a grain of salt, because they are wrong. Here's what sucks the most with these heavy focused role play people. Many of them are egotistic. And the way they communicate, what they want to do, what they like, they communicate it like they are better than you. And what you're doing is wrong. They're not saying it directly, but they imply it. And they imply it all the time. To the point where everyone listening to this video, if you've heard one of these people, you know what I'm talking about. You instinctively know what I'm talking about. As soon as I say they imply that they're better than you and the way you're doing it is wrong, you know it. Go listen to them. That's what they're doing. You and me both know that's what they're doing. But they're not doing their cause any good. Because all it does is piss people off and make people not listen. It's not like they're pissing people off and forcing people to talk about the issue. That can be done. It's not being done here, right? It's not like the talk about miniatures versus theater of the mind. I remember years ago, me putting stuff out on that and getting my life threatened for talking about this from people that were into miniatures. Now you can talk about it without really having your life threatened by people. It took years, and people had to be pissed off to have, to end up opening up and talking about these things. But that's not what's happening in this situation. It's not like we're pissing, or they're pissing people off, and then getting them to talk about the subject anyway. All they're doing is bringing people in that are already on board with what they're saying. And they're pushing away everyone else, so no one is learning anything from this. Right? And the few people that might be raw, that might not have a take on this, that were on the fence, that are joining their side, well, these are the type of bow your head, kiss people's ass followers. I'm just saying, it's how it comes across to me, because I don't see anyone with any credibility listening to these people and then joining with them. Either they were already there, or if they have any credibility and they weren't and they were on the fence, they're not jumping on the side of these people. They're not convincing people that would have sway, that have charisma, that could even further the promotion of what they're talking about. So, in my opinion, I say go back to the drawing board and come up with a new way to talk about these subjects. There is a certain point that when you exit all this game talk out, when you refuse to go out of character, and you're constantly doing this, at one point you're going to feel like you're not even in a game. And that's not good, right? Like, you don't feel like you're in a game no more. You're just either doing dialogue, you're describing some things, but for the most part, all game talk, and out of character talk are just pretty much eliminated out of what you're doing. At that point, I think you're doing something other than a tabletop role-playing game. I like to be reminded that it is a game, and that reminder doesn't take me out of the immersive experience. Because I'm not that so stuck on one way that I can't have a good time. So game talk doesn't spook me. It doesn't take me out of the experience, and it doesn't ruin the experience overall. And if it does for you, again, I think that's an issue. And I think the issue is with you, not with the game. I think you're trying to get something out of this that's not there. Don't be afraid of out-of-character talk. Don't spend too much time on it. Don't be afraid of talking about the rules as they are. Again, don't spend too much time on it. And dice rolling, don't worry about that too much. Just don't spend too much time on it. Roll the dice, here's the outcome, we move on. You got a couple of dice to roll, like a couple of times you got to roll dice, roll it once, boom, roll it twice, roll it quickly, and move on. All this can be done, the immersive state can be kept, and you can have a great time, and none of that ruins anything. And once you know it won't ruin anything, once you know it won't mess with the imagination or the immersive experience, you realize the focus on a heavy role-play game is not necessary for you to get what you want out of this. My main focus is helping people get into a game. Doesn't have to be in my game, just into a game, right? Don't be so picky about what you're looking for. We already have enough issues that are separating people in 2023 in the hobby, like politics and religion. But if you can get that out of your way, don't let gaming stuff like this get in your way, right? Don't be so picky. And yeah, you might have some bad experiences while you're looking, while you're opening the door to joining games and trying things out. Don't you bring any more problems to the table. And if others do, fair enough, walk away. But relax. right? Don't worry about all this talk about, focus on role play, a focus on this, a focus on that. You don't need to be an actor. You don't need to be a voice actor. You don't need to do any of this to please people, right? You just need to get into a game. And I know that most people that want to play the game today are not playing. And that's the actual truth. That's our real issue there. All this talk is just unnecessary. It's stuff that can come later, in what you're doing. But if you're new and you hear all this talk about heavy role-playing, all this, please ignore it. Just focus on getting into a game. Focus on not being so shy. Or, opening up even if you are shy, right? That's the real issue we have. People having a hard time getting into the game. The majority of people in the hobby are probably not playing a gaming session right now. And some who feel like they're in the hobby, have purchased stuff and they want to play, they've never played and they're still looking for a game even now. And some of them have been around for years and have never played, right? So all this unnecessary bullshit about, a heavy focus on role play, just put that aside and focus on getting into a game. All right, for now, take care. You know what you can do? You can hit the like button. You can share the video. Oh, and there's another button you can press. That one that lets you subscribe to my channel for more content. Oh yeah, there's that bell thing. You can press that so you know when I've uploaded a new video right away.